Okay, so the next person I'm going to introduce is a absolute monster. Again, if you've noticed, every single time I brought someone on, they are next level. And the dude who I'm about to introduce you guys to is nothing short of that. He is one of those people that is so good at strategy and intuitive and just really clean energy, and has created a $1 million business, but also operates from $1 million consciousness. Um, a lot of people think they need 12 billion followers. And while Michael Chu does have a lot of followers, he also doesn't in many ways. And I love that. I love that you're not quote unquote, I have 1 million followers and that's why, right? So who you're about to learn from is somebody who doesn't necessarily have the big giant following, but is beasting. When I say he's beasting, he's killing most coaches who have those big followings. So you want to learn from someone like him because he set his business up right. And the proof is in the pudding. I'm just going to say this last thing. I've spoken at multiple events of his. And I told my wife this the last time. I said, babe, this dude is doing it right. And here's how I know. I've seen the same people year after year after year. They're getting results. They trust the space. They trust him. And whatever he's doing is helping them in such a way that they keep coming back, and they come back better every time I see his people, right? So everybody strap in, get ready to learn from the man, the myth, the legend that is Michael Chu. Michael Chu, welcome, brother.
I'm honored to be here, man. That was a hell of an intro. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Okay, can you help people understand what it is you actually do in the world?
Oh man, what I help people do in the world. My like life's mission that John Vroman helped me discover years ago was to help develop the champion within people to help walk them home from their head to their hearts, so that
Yes.
they can know God's love, glory, and abundance. So like if
Mm,
I was to say it in like a markety statement, that's it. But really, at the end of the day, I want to see the best in people in a way
mm,
that they see the best within themselves. That's
yes.
what my first coaching program was. You see a lot of people in the chat from one of those communities. We just got back from our 11th retreat. And to your point, Preston,
Yes.
some of them were just coming back this weekend from their 7th, 8th, 9th retreat with me over the years. On the business side, I then took that model in how I built my Health and Wealth Academy. And we grew that thing to an Inc. 5000 fastest growing company, multi-millions a year with 10,000 followers. And I've now helped over 1,000 coaches build 6 and 7 figure businesses by truly owning their message without needing to be this like wild marketer and all that type of stuff. So that's on the business side,
Yeah.
what I consult, which was all built, last piece there, which was all built on the foundation of just a 15-year business consulting and sales career before I ever even got into coaching.
Facts.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a part of a mafia that in our community, when you look at some of the dudes who are beasting, you know what I'm about to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so when you look at some of the dudes who are killing it in our community, in our friend groups, right? A lot of them have this similar background, which is this mafia of selling fucking knives.
Yeah.
Can you
Cutco.
give us just a little backstory on why all of the dudes who sold knives are rich as hell?
Somebody asked me that one time, and the first answer I gave is because I think the type of mindset you have to have at 18 years old to even be willing to sell knives and call your friends' parents and say, can I come sell you knives in your house when everybody's making fun of you? Like, I think that alone, you already have to be wired a little differently to be willing to do that. And then credit to the Cutco community, the leadership training, the sales training, and the skill sets that you learn and the mindsets. For me, it was my first exposure into leadership development and personal growth.
Mm,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Facts. Okay. So, just a bit of clarification because I've seen a lot of fitness coaches in your space. Do
Yeah.
you sort of niche to that, or is that just happens?
Yeah, well, we did a bunch of mergers and acquisitions a couple years back,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the niches we chose to buy businesses in was in the coaching fitness, nutrition, and health coaches specifically.
Yep.
So we are pretty niche down to that. It's not completely like niched only to that, but that's kind of where we live a bit,
Yep.
because my first coaching business, even though it was a peak performance business coaching program, it had a health element to it.
Yep.
I think you know this. I won 12 national karate championships growing up. So, like, one of the things I infused into my business coaching was like, you can't be the best leader for others if you're not leading yourself first, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So, there is a caveat to that in our coaching. We call it the CD3, the Champ Dev 3. You got to win with your health, wealth, and happiness.
Facts. Okay. So here it is. You have this like extraordinary ability to lead,
Hmm.
right? And you just spoke to this. Can you speak to the power of community and
Sure.
how your leadership skills have leveled up?
To the power of community and how my leadership, how community has poured into my ability to be a better
Yep.
leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think part of my unique leadership ability is that I have a lot of negative self talk and a lot of negative self image. And I start with that um, because I see myself in that way naturally sometimes. I think I can see the good in so many other people.
Mhm.
And therefore, I lead. Yeah, I lead in that way. But how community has specifically um, supported in that is I wouldn't be where I am today without community and without leadership, because I was a minority alcoholic, grew up in a poor town, like all those things. As I was getting into business, when I first got into business, Preston, uh, I was working at Pizza Hut before that. So it's not like I had, it's not like I had business or leadership experience. Yeah. Like I was stealing breadsticks on a regular basis for lunch. Like that was my career. But yeah, community has been everything for me, whether it's John
Yes.
Vroman that I've referenced already,
Yes.
a lot of people in that world, Mike Cassetta, Justin Donald, Hal Elrod, like
Hmm.
those guys helped me see within myself what was possible by leading and following and modeling for them. I don't believe that most, if anything, that I've created today is because I have this like original idea myself.
Yep.
But I just am really good. Here's one mindset I can say to kind of
Hmm.
summarize this. I'm I'm rarely the fast starter and kicking ass at just about anything I do,
Hmm.
but I will beat most people at anything I do because I will find a model to learn that, and then I don't quit, and I will figure it out from there. And you can look at my Cutco career, my door-to-door sales career, my coaching career, like almost everything I started off with I was not that good at.
Mm,
That's how community has supported me in becoming a better leader, because I lean on the success of others to find it within myself.
that. Okay, so I hope this is landing for y'all. Two things that just jumped off the page, which was using the negative self-talk to actually propel yourself forward because you
Yeah.
understand how people feel about themselves,
Yeah.
right? And two, being willing, hear the words, y'all, willing to receive and be supported in what's going to make the biggest impact, right? He
Yeah.
just said it multiple times, right? He didn't necessarily figure it all out himself, but when he heard it, the listening was like, ah, okay, I
Yeah.
trust you enough, right? And then the iterations and the things of that nature. Dude, I genuinely love how you stand as a man. Um we're gonna start our Muay Thai uh practice up again. Some
Yes,
of you
sir.
know back in the day we were doing Fight Club for a couple years, and you also love fighting. Can you tell me about that? How important it is to have something like that as you build and do business and all that?
Yeah. Well, there's some level of the way we do one thing is the way we do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And martial arts for me grounds me in the foundational principles that I think lead to success. I
Mm,
know we live in a world of technology where we can accelerate success faster than ever before because of social media, because of AI and stuff like that. My current belief, though, is there are still human principles that
mm,
will always plant the seeds for success, and that is patience. Right. That is the law of exchange, right? What I
mm,
give, I'll get back in return. But
mm,
specifically with martial arts, two things have always stood out with me for business, for wealth building, abundance, etc. I started karate when I was 3 years old. My family still owns that karate school today. And I say that because that's 30 years of doing the same punch and kick over and over and over again. Right. And it's like the Bruce Lee quote, I'd rather someone who, has practiced one kick 1,000 times than 1,000 kicks one time. Well, business is skill development. Business is mastery. Going back to that self-talk part, Preston, for years through my late 20s and early 30s, I had this like really hard deservingness issue within me. I didn't feel deserving of really anything. And then a coach said the following to me. A coach said, deserving is really just a conversation of skill development. And something clicked for me because I said, you're right. Like when I was doing karate, I got to the point where I had practiced something for long enough that I felt deserving of going to my instructor and saying, when do I get to compete? Or when do I get to test? Right. And so that's how martial arts has played a huge role for me. And whether it's business, whether it's success, is that like I will build the deservingness within me by practicing something long enough over and over and over again until I feel that like it's part of my identity.
Bro, mic drop. Is that landing for anybody else in this room? Like deservingness coming from the repetition of being in a space so long.
Yeah.
Bro, I absolutely agree. That's one of the things, people will ask, because I also help coaches build their
Sure.
business and all that stuff. And they'll say, okay, well, how are you so consistent? And for me, it's like, it's a lifestyle. It's a calling.
Yeah.
It's not like, this is my business and then this is how life is. It's all of it is the same thing.
Yes.
And so the other piece is around planting seeds, right? A lot of people here aren't in the position. I'm going straight to the thing I know these people are wondering.
Mm.
So a lot of people here aren't in the position yet to run their own ads or to have an ads manager.
Yeah.
What have you seen work more than anything when it comes to coaches, healers, light workers, therapists, leveling up their businesses?
Yeah. So let me add this for credibility to what I'm about to say and tie two things together. I've spent my first go around with trying to learn ads. I spent $115,000 on like every big guru and every big name in ads, and I made $1,500 back in return. And I start with that because it's I see you laughing, Preston,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And so part of why I share that is because it's what led me to say, like this whole like martial arts thing I just shared. Okay, I know how to generate clients with organic marketing, but let me stop looking at it like a strategy and let me start looking at it like a skill set. And how do I master it to the point where I fully understand it? And for credibility, in the last 4 years, we've generated $15 million in coaching revenue in 4 years. We grew to an Inc. 5000 fastest growing company. Here's the part I want to say, with no ads. We don't have ads on, right? And I said earlier, I had 10,000 followers. I think I have 16 now. So it's not like I have 160,000 followers. So I'm going to answer the question, but I just wanted to add that for credibility, so people understood where I'm coming from, why I believe in what I'm about to share so deeply. And so it's the following. In our community, we call it the 4 Ps and the 4 Vs. The 4 Ps and the 4 Vs. The type of content that people normally put out to get a lot of engagement is not always the same type of content that leads to high levels of enrollments. Everybody get what I just said there? The type of content that we put out to get a lot of engagement, right, is not the same type of content that leads to enrollments. Okay. And so that was something important for me to really understand, because today's social media world can incentivize you to want to keep putting out content that's going to get engagement. Why? The way our dopamine's wired, and oh my gosh, I got more likes and more views and more shares. So we want to keep going out and putting more of that content. Let me say this, that type of content serves its purpose, but it's not always the content that's necessarily attracting engaging leads. So what is that type of content? That type of content is knowing your 4 Ps and your 4 Vs, right? Actually, really quickly here, Preston, this might just be easier do I have screen share access? You're on.
Try it.
Let me see, because it might just be easier for me to show this. It says no.
We got 4 minutes
Okay,
before.
I'll
So
keep it quick.
yeah, yeah.
So the four P's are the following. Do you know what person you're specifically speaking to, right? When I create content, I don't try and pretend I'm speaking to everybody, right? I literally picture this kid named Josh, who was one of my very first clients, and I pretend I'm writing content to him. Because if you don't know what person you're talking to, you might get a lot of views, but it doesn't always lead to a lot of money. Then I get clear on what problem I'm trying to relate to. Too many people in their content just want to share value and teach and inspire, but they're not relating to the problem your audience is connecting to. So they'll become curious about your page, but they don't become emotionally ready to say, how can you help me? Then we're not really good at clarifying the promise, right, that we make to people. So they become uncertain why they would ever even reach out to us. Versus if you communicate this clearly, they become ready to buy. And then lastly, we're a lot of times afraid of being salesy. So we don't talk about our actual process. And so you end up with a lot of fans, but you don't end up with a lot of clients. So the first thing is you got to know what four P's you're speaking to, and then creating content in the form of what we call the four V's, really, if you don't worry about viral. Value content, I'll keep this last part quick. Value content is what makes you credible, but most people are putting out 80% value content and only 20% the rest, and they need to better recalibrate that. Value content makes you credible, but vulnerability content makes you relatable. If you turn your head over here and you see the word relatable. Victory content makes you believable, and then vision content makes your content actionable. So if you know the four P's and the four V's, it doesn't matter how much engagement you get. A lot of my videos get hundreds of views. Preston might get 100 views in the first 10 seconds he puts a post up, right? And yet that's the business we're generating and business that we're creating. So hopefully that answers that question. The last V
Absolutely.
was vision, Amanda.
There we go.
Good.
Absolutely beautiful. I want to give you space to just have closing words, but I want to say something about you before we do that. That was extremely valuable. And again, all of you, I'm sure you're recognizing, I have not brought one weak link on here. Not one. Every single person. They all have their different angle, right? Now, going back to the scale, right? Heather said she just fucking shoots and goes. She just feels the vibe and goes this way. Michael Chu measures, right? You guys
Yeah.
see the difference? Both $1 million businesses, both, right? And it also matters what you take home and how you live inside of the $1 million business, which is the last piece I want to say about this man. I see you surfing. I see you traveling with your wife and your baby girl. I see you showing up to events for front row dads. I see you, just being a good ass dude, man. Is there anything you can say or want to sort of finish off this with? Because there's all the strategy stuff, but there's also something to be said about like the man that shows up.
Yeah.
What can you leave with people around that space?
Yeah. Strategy means so little.
Mm, mm,
And anytime I want to create something in my life, a better relationship, or I know in this case, the conversation here is abundance, I start to ask myself, who is that version of me that just becomes the norm, right? Or said differently, what's the identity of the person who just naturally creates that in my life? And so I'll start to say my final words with the following. Hey, going back to my negative self-talk, I saw that I was following up David Osborne, I think, and my brain immediately went to, I have to follow David Osborne. So you want to talk about insecurities by nature? I was like, put me anywhere else but after David. But to the point of we don't create in our lives what we say we want. Too many people wish and want for things. We create in our lives what we expect, and our expectations are driven by our identity. And so the part I want to close with is yes, you have the law of attraction, right? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? But I also believe it's equally, if not more, available to look at the law of repulsion. As I became somebody who could believe in abundance, I had to stop doing all the law of attraction stuff, writing down my goals and affirmations. And I still do that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I grew up with farmers as grandparents, my grandfather moved to America and left my grandma in China for 10 years because he didn't have enough money to bring her. So you want to talk about like the scarcity and poverty mindsets that are built within me. So when I wanted to start to build wealth, I had to start to address all of the law of repulsion stuff that came up. I'm not good enough. No way. That's not me. Do you know how my family was raised? That's not like, oh, I'm not Caucasian. I'm not this, like whatever, like all that. And the more I addressed the law of repulsion stuff, the more I develop myself as an identity of I am a wealthy human being. I am a man of abundance, prosperity, right? Wealth and all those things. And it just became more of my actual identity. And funny enough, strategy stopped mattering as much and wealth started to expand as I worked more on my identity, not my strategy.
Let's fucking go.